Hello, humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer. The Moon Channel was right. That's right. About a year ago, I was in the Philippines, and I made this video that I'm using part of the thumbnail here because the Moon Channel had gone and criticized Carl Jobs and Mudahar and the research they had done over Gerard the Completionist. And his criticism basically was that they had done some sloppy research. I think he said like Tinder law, consultation or something like that. And he really just smacked him down because he just didn't think they knew what the hell they were talking about. And they were making claims, in a case where here in the U.S., you're innocent until proven guilty. Now, that might not be the case in the court of public opinion. Of course, Gerard's lost everything now. But it does in actual courts. You're innocent until proven guilty. We're a year out. As far as I know, Gerard hasn't been charged with anything. Certainly hasn't been charged with any of the words that were mentioned towards him. I don't see that the, foundation got charged with anything or anything like that. I mean, it's been a year. And you had a lawyer, right, stop by, criticize your work for free. And instead of listening to maybe if this guy had a point, maybe you had some sort of liability that you might want to take care of. Maybe you want to rethink your words. You don't. What happened to the Moon Channel? Of course, Carl Jobs knows better than lawyers and goes in on the guy. And the guy gets berated to the point where he takes down the video. He has to apologize because he didn't really want any of the drama smoke. Right? And guys, when an expert in a field tells you something is wrong, you should listen. If you would have applied any of the lessons or any of the criticisms that the Moon Channel had to say, he wouldn't be in such deep doo-doo. He wouldn't. The Moon Channel was right. Right? You may think that your arguments are great here on YouTube and they're entertaining. But just because I find something entertaining, right, or you or whoever, and we support that creator, that doesn't make them legally right. It just makes entertaining content. That's all it means. But again, these creators get full of themselves and they think they know the law because they want a YouTube argument or buried somebody online, and they think that makes them correct in the eyes of the law. You could be morally correct in many things and still lose a bunch of money in the courtrooms. And this is exactly the problem here, right? Where you have a lawyer stop by, give you free advice, criticize you. This is where you went wrong. This is what you didn't do right. This is where I think your case is weak. Maybe you shouldn't be doing this. Maybe you shouldn't be doing that. If a lawyer tells me and gives me a consultation on that for free, I take it. Thanks. Maybe I get a second opinion. If I don't agree with it, definitely get a second opinion. Have my lawyers look at my scripts before I put them out. Not Carl Jobs, of course, because he doesn't listen to lawyers. According to him, they're just going to tell him to shut up. So he doesn't give his scripts to lawyers to review. And you see how ego can get in your way. And this happens all the time, guys. This happens in industry all the time. In the business I'm in, people pay thousands and thousands of dollars for our services, right? Basically paying you for your opinion. We get there and we say, this is our opinion. And the owner of the company, especially if the owner of the company has some guilt in why the company is not running correctly, many times they will often disagree. And we're like, look, you called us because you're in trouble, right? Obviously what you're doing is not working. We broke it down. We brought all this technical personnel, experience, all this stuff. Here's where you're wrong. This is how you can make it right. And they're like, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know my business. Okay. All right. Whatever. Just give us a $3,000 and we're out of here. You know what I'm saying? And this is the same thing here. You have an expert stop by, give you their opinion, and you just blow it off because you know better than lawyers. Oh, man, that is some ego. I wouldn't even do it with a mechanic. If I'm driving and a mechanic tells me, hey, you know what? That sound your car is making, why don't you have that checked out? I'll be, nope, you don't know my car. I know my car better. Are you a mechanic? No. But I've driven this car a lot. I would never do that. But this is how big heads can get on YouTube. This is how swollen egos can get when you have this YouTube success. You kind of lose sight, right? You lose perspective. Unfortunately, on this one, it can come back to bite them. The Moon Channel laid bare all the potential problems that Carl Jobs might have. I don't know about Mudahar because I don't know what the laws are in Canada. I would imagine free speech, based on the way they act over there, is not as big of a thing as it is here in the U.S., right? But we're not talking about the U.S. We're talking about Australia. And we just found out that their laws are a little different. You know, to the tune of, geez, what is it going to be, $1 million Australian dollars now after lawyers' fees? How different would it have been for Carl Jobs if he took a moment to reflect on what a lawyer told him? But instead of engaging with the guy, instead of having a conversation, somebody who took time, right? Even though, you know, when somebody criticizes you, it's not easy. But if it's a lawyer, it's a free consultation. It's free. There's nothing wrong with free. You know, you're spending $600,000 on a worthless defense because it was worthless. It wouldn't have made it. You could have had DSP arguing his case. The outcome would have been the same, right? You could have showed up with nobody. You could have showed up with nobody. He could have defended himself for free, and the outcome would have been the same. But the one time that he got free advice, what did he do? He pissed on it. The poor guy got berated. He took the video down because he was getting attacked from all fronts because, you know, of course, Carl Jobs has a huge following. And in the end of the day, it was really a disservice. And now look at him. Guys, if a professional gives you free advice, take it, right? Write some notes down. This is, again, not legal advice, but if I get free advice from a lawyer, man, I'm taking it. And if I don't agree with it, I'll get a second opinion. But the one thing I'm not going to do is say that the lawyer doesn't know what he's talking about and make a video responding to him. Well, we know how this turned out. I think Gerard is just going to look at the Moon Channel's old video and get his advice from there. All right, humans, I will catch you on the next one. Take care.